A philosophy major. We'll make you a philosophy major, and one day you're going to work for PETA. Okay, that's a grown folk joke right there. Anyway, so here we go. So I'm going to give you a few examples of different evangelistic styles. So the first one we like to call this the talker. Here we go.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. How can I serve you this morning?
Jesus came to serve too. We should pray. Whoa, okay, wow. Okay, bro. Went right into the kill, huh? That's a little awkward right there, but, okay, that's not necessarily what I was talking about, but that's close. Nice shirt, Michael W. Alright. You gotta choose one. Sandals or socks, bro. Sandals or socks. So that's a little, it's not necessarily what I mean. You want to try to ease into the conversation a little more. Now you're talking, but let's show the people what we mean. Okay, so try it again, Sanders.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. How can I serve you this morning?
I've never had anybody ask if they could serve me before.
I mean, I guess it is different than what can I get you?
It's completely different. It's a different question altogether. It reminds me of this time in the Bible where Jesus said he did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many.
There it is. It's right there. Good job, Sanders. Now, did you see that? It's a little more natural. It's an easy conversation. That's just, the man can just talk, right? And that's one of your skills, that's one of your gifts, one of the ingredients, and that may be the way that God has to evangelize. Now, here's another style. We call this the buddy.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm actually not so good. I just found out my grandpa has cancer, and it really doesn't look that good. It kind of makes me wonder, though, if there's like a life after death, you know?
Right. Yeah, it's really hard. Can I just get a coffee?
Okay, wow. Now, I hope you guys caught that sister girl just said her grandfather died of cancer. Okay, you gotta be more of a buddy than that. You know what I mean? Like that's one of those situations, like you can't miss that, right? Like that was an open door right there. Okay, so that's like an open door. So that's okay. It's okay. Now try it again.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm actually not so good. I just found out my grandpa has cancer, and it really doesn't look that good. It kind of makes me wonder, though, if there's like a life after death, you know?
Wow. Yeah, that's really tough.
Yeah.
You know, I happen to believe that there is a life after death. You know, if you want to talk about it, or if you just need someone to listen, I'd love to be that person.
I'd actually really like that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
When's your break?
About 15 minutes.
Okay, I'll wait over there.
Yeah, that's great.
There it is. That's awesome. Right there. What a great example of grace, right? What a beautiful picture of grace is in was hurting, and she was there just to be the buddy, be the friend. Now, this next one's a little tricky. Alright? And I'm warning you now, don't let the name fool you, okay? We call this the stalker. Let me show you. Whoa. Oh, wait. Back up, Steven Tyler. Back up. We'll talk to Jay for a second. Are you okay, sweetheart? Jeez, you just scared us all. Are you okay? Poor thing. Bro. Gene Simmons. Great.
My head's a little dizzy.
I don't even know if I should keep making fun of you. That hurt us all. Okay, try not to scare us. Try not to scare us, alright, so don't be so scared. Okay, try again. Go for it.
Good morning. How are you today?
Hi, Forrest. if you were to die today, you think you go to heaven?
You know, I was actually just thinking about that.
There it is. Now see, it's tricky. Good job, dude. There. Wow. Okay. Okay. Thank you. There is no spoon. It's a little tricky. That starter's a little tricky, but the skill set and the uniqueness about that particular style is that laser pinpoint accuracy. Just no fear. Let's just get to it. Let's get to it. What happens when you die? That's a great style to have, and if that's natural for you, you should do it. That's one of them. Now the last one also can be a little tricky, but when done well, it's amazing. We call this one, please don't mess this up, the brain.
Hi, good morning. How are you today?
Oh, I'm great. How are you?
Oh, you know, I'm actually not so good. I just found out my grandpa has cancer and it really doesn't look that good. It kind of makes me wonder though if there's like a life after death, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I used to wonder that too, but I did a little research and I discovered that every 1.6 seconds somebody dies. Now think about that. Somebody died. Somebody died. Somebody died. Grandpa died. I used to wonder that too. But I did a little research and I discovered in the next 10 years cancer is going to surpass heart disease according to the American Heart. What? So sheesh. That's what you're going to go with? Really? That's what you're going with? Wikipedia. Jeez. Wikipedia. For real? Okay. Okay, last time, man. Okay. Last time, all right? Okay, you okay? Thank you. Okay, one more time, man.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, you know, I'm actually not so good. I just found out my grandpa has cancer and it really doesn't look that good. It kind of makes me wonder though, there's like a life after death, you know?
Yeah. You know, the Bible talks about there being a life after death.
Yeah, but I don't believe the Bible, so...
Fair enough, but I've done a lot of research, and there's a lot of convincing evidence to show the validity that there is a God in His creation. If you'd like to find more information, I'd like to share that with you.
I mean, I guess it couldn't hurt.
Awesome, when'd you break?
About 15 minutes.
Sweet, I'll wait over there.
Okay, come on.
Nailed it. There it is, bro. Wow. You try. Careful, bro. You gotta get out of the phone. Wow. Okay, so, depending on your style, depending on the way that the Lord makes you, could be your evangelistic style. Now, take a few seconds, answer a couple of those questions. This is what we want you to do. We want to find out what's going on in this room right here. So, take the test, ask yourself a few questions, and I want you to text in what style that you have. Okay, so you're going to text to 27138 which one you are. We got D1 for talkers, D2 for stalkers, D3 for buddies, and D4 for brain. I want to see what you guys got. I can tell you straight up already right now, I'm a brain. That is totally my style. What you think of you, Zane?
I'm definitely a buddy.
Definitely a buddy.
Yeah, that's when we do friends first, hang out, get to know them, and show them my life.
Hug it out. Talker, stalker, hire for Mr. Steers. Let's see what we got going here. Oh yeah, we got a lot of buddies. Oh hey, where my stalkers at? Oh yeah. There's my stalkers. Alright. Man,
Representing. I think for us buddies, because that's definitely my side for sure. I think the hardest part is actually bringing it up. We saw in the not so video that demonstration that you did. We laugh when we see it. You know, she says, "Oh, my grandpa's dying of cancer," and the buddy's like, "Oh, can I get a cup of coffee?" And it's funny there, but it is hard if we're honest to actually when those opportunities do come to bring it up. And so, man, I feel you there. So I think those are the things where we need that encouragement to be a little, maybe not quite stalker-ish, but I mean, it's just persistent. We need to be more persistent there. Yeah. Awesome. And one thing about our styles too, I think you see here is we all have a preaching style. Prop has his iPad. And representing. Greg's got his notebook. And I got 2 little leaflets of paper here. Like napkins, you know, to the restaurant. So yeah. But you just see that, like we're all different, and that's how we roll. But it doesn't make any of us like better than the other or whatever. It's just how God's created us. And so we've embraced our styles and we don't try to be each other, just be us. So I think you kind of see it even up here, which is kind of fun. Page 42, David had an unrivaled story. Psalm 78, 70 through 72, it says, he chose David, his servant, and took him from the sheep pens. From tending the sheep, he brought him to be the shepherd of his people Jacob, of Israel his inheritance. And David shepherded them with integrity of heart, with skillful hands. He led them. I love that. There's a true picture of David's life before and after. Before he was shepherding sheep, and after he's shepherding all of God's people. That is wild to think of. And in that, it shows me that God used his past as a part of his plans for what he had planned for David to become. And Greg told a little bit of the story last night when the prophet Samuel comes into town and goes to David's house and is like, I'm going to anoint, a new man here, a man of God. And Jesse, David's dad, is like, oh, great, well, I got my 7 sons. I'll show you the ones I got. And lines up his sons, sort of like, this is my perfect family, which David was left out of. David was out shepherding sheep, and the prophet of God's here to anoint the new man of God, and David's still stuck in the field. I wonder, what was that like for David? To know that he was even left out, in some sense, of his family, the run. But God doesn't waste experiences. I believe that was part of what God used in David's life to enable him to be all that God had called him to be. To be the shepherd of all of God's people. While he's out there hanging with the sheep, God's like, hey, I'm using this in preparation to prepare you for what I have in store for your life. And you have no clue what it's going to be. And David didn't just focus on, looking at, I'm stuck with the sheep and my brothers. He continued to focus on God and focus on his presence and focus on his sufficiency and be excited about what God was going to do with his life. And it blows my mind to think of what God did. Because God doesn't waste experiences. And so I don't know what your guys' stories are. Maybe you, like David, feel like you walk through the halls of your house invisible. Like nobody sees you. Like no one even notices you. Or maybe even in the halls of your school. And you're like, man, I go through there and nobody even knows who I am. I'm all alone. It's just me. God notices. And maybe that's actually part of what he's doing in your life because he's preparing you for something else. Are you willing to sort of stick it out and spend that time with God and allow him to use those things to enable you to be the person that he's calling you to be? I think of my life. That's my story. I did some really stupid things, but I see how God has now used me as part of his story. My story has become his story. I mentioned a little bit of the drugs and alcohol. In the 6th grade, I started smoking. In the 7th grade, I started drinking. And by the 9th grade, I started doing drugs. I then started selling drugs to pay for my own habits. Do you guys have the DARE program in school? Like DARE to keep kids off drugs or whatever? I just called it drugs are really expensive. expensive. And then I sold drugs to pay for my own happiness. And I did that all throughout high school. And when I turned 18 years old, because of my relationship with my stepmom, I left the house, living out on my own, selling drugs, got a job at Budweiser. Just a whole bunch of stupid decisions. I told you about the overdose. I mean, my life was a wreck. But then God came into my life through a crazy series of events. Actually, a friend's parents invited me to church. What they didn't know was I was selling drugs to their kids. Their youngest son was selling drugs for me and got kicked out of school for having a gun. And this family invited me to church and began to preach the gospel to me. And through, kind of a crazy series of events, I became a believer. And I'm like, I'm going all out for Jesus. And it's so rad to see how God has used my story in my specific context, specifically to where I live. I live up in the middle of the mountain snowboard community, like party that, whatever. And I get to use my story as a testimony of the fullness that I found in God. Just not too long ago, I was out hanging out with my buddies in town, and this dude comes up to me and he's like, hey man, for some reason people always come up to me and try to sell drugs. I don't know if I still look like a stoner or something, or they're always like, hey man, you know, what you want, man, I can get it. I can get you whatever you need. And this guy's coming up and talking and telling me, you know, I got everything, what you want? And I look at him, I'm like, what, drugs, coke, pills, what? He's like, yeah. I got something better. And he's like, step over to my office. It's like a street corner, I guess. And I'm like, tell him, you know? And he's like, so what you got? And I'm like, Jesus. And he goes, oh, man. But it was awesome because then I began to tell him about, hey, you know, I used to be in the same spot, you know, selling drugs and looking for life in all these substances, but I couldn't find it. Every time I'd wake up after the night, I'd be all hungover and I'd just think, man, there's got to be something more to this. And he's like, yeah, dude, I kind of Jesus. And then he listened to me tell my story. And it's so cool because God has used my story in a specific place. And your story is no different. No matter what your story is, God has prepared you to be the person you are for a specific circumstance in a specific place. So your story is meant to be told. Whatever it is, page 43, we all have a before and after. No matter what, if it's a radical story or just what seems to be a normal story. Page 43, a life before Christ. We're all sinners, separated from God, no worthwhile purpose. And we all have a new life after meeting Christ. Forgiveness from sin, united with God, a new worthwhile purpose. So what's your story? Page 49. What are the key factors that sort of enabled you or took you on the process of becoming a Christian? Were you like me and just made a whole bunch of stupid decisions? Or were you raised in a Christian home? You know, I think one of the most powerful testimonies are those who were raised in Christian homes. And you know, it's so weird. I thought about it as I traveled and had the opportunity to share at youth groups, and I get done, and oftentimes a kid will come up to me after I share my testimony, and he'll be like, man, I wish I had a story like yours. And I'm always like, what? Wait, did you hear all this stupid stuff I did? And the more I thought about it, actually, I think I get what they're saying. They're saying, you know, your story shows so much the power of God because this radical transformation. You went from the dumps to like, now you're flying high with Jesus. And so I get that what they're saying, but I think the other side of their saying is, so my story is just boring. And there's no power in the Christian kid testimony. But I believe that if you're a Christian kid, you were raised in a Christian home, you know, your mom's a Christian, your dad's a Christian, your brother's a Christian, your dog's a Christian, your cat's a Christian. Cats can't be Christian, they're the devil. Since you were just a little kid, you know it all, but at some point in time, you've had to make it your own. You've had to come to a place where you decide to say, I'm no longer going to let this be my parents' faith, and I'm going to make it my own. And whatever that process was, the reality that I look at is at some point in time, you place your faith and trust in Jesus. You decide to say, okay, Jesus, you're real. Maybe you're 3 years old, you know, or whatever. And then you walk through this process of life where it was your parents' faith. And you're trying to figure it out. Maybe you struggle with some sins, or you didn't go all out for God, but I picture picture it like God has been holding you in the palm of his hand. And he is waiting to unleash you into the world. And although you haven't been fully following after him, you've made your profession of faith, and so you're a believer, and he's waiting. And he's saying, when are you going to believe this? That I might unleash you, empowered by my Spirit, to proclaim my goodness to the world. And so I believe your story is the most powerful story, because it tells the world that there's hope. Hope that the fullness can be found in Jesus. That you don't have to find it in all the stuff that I look forward to. That you can find it in Jesus, that Jesus is enough. So will you tell your story, even being raised in the Christian home? But you know what? Yeah, I didn't have to turn to that stuff, because I had enough from Jesus. I'm sure I didn't go all out for it, but you know what? He never left me nor forsake me. And that is amazing testimony of God's power, not your own. And I think those are the stories that need to be told. So page 45, I want a homework assignment for you guys. To prepare your story, to figure out what was the before, or what was the factor that led you to Christ, and how has it been since. Youth leaders, a challenge. I challenge you guys to have the students do this, because I believe as you prepare your story, you'll be able to share it with your friends. And you know one thing that no one can ever argue with? The story of what God's done in your life. We do this at the Torchbearer Bible School I work at. Up in the Middle Mountains, we have our students prepare their stories. We take them on missions trips, and I remember we went to New York City, and I'll never forget, there's this girl, Tana, beautiful girl, but her whole story was that she felt unloved, she felt unworthy, she felt not pretty. She looked at the world around, the movies and the magazines and the advertisements, and thought she didn't add up. And so she ended up struggling with identity. And did some harmful things even to herself. And when God really got a hold of her life, she realized, you know what, I'm a beautiful creation of God. And it doesn't matter about my outward appearance. What matters is my heart. And that's why she's a beautiful woman. And it was so rad. We got to New York, and she got up on the subway. We all got up on the subway, and we're like, trying to share the gospel, like sing some songs. It's all awkward on the subway. No one wants to care in New York about what you're saying. It's the city of brotherly shove, not brotherly love. And so we're singing songs, and there's like some dude like cussing at his girlfriend over in the corner. I'm like, oh man. And all of a sudden, Tana stands up in the middle of the subway and begins to talk about her story. And begins to point at the advertisements that are going around on the subway walls and says, you know what, I thought I didn't add up because I see all these airbrush magazines. But you know what, I realized that God made me just the way I am, and that I'm beautiful because I'm a creation of God. As she was talking, everybody on the subway stopped and was watching. And I was like, what's going on here? God had prepared her story for a specific place and a specific purpose. And my guess is the same is for you. And I don't know what it is, and neither do you until you tell it and find out how God might use your story. So spend the time and write it out. And you never know. Some of the things that you're not even proud of, some of the things that you're like, oh man, there's this about me. Maybe God might change and he might begin to use in a whole new way. Part of my story is pretty funny. I've always been a really just shy kid. And you wouldn't guess it now, I was so shy. My dad would take me to like parties or whatever, and I would just sit in the corner all by myself. Yeah, and I got a Facebook message just recently, and it was so funny because it was a kid from my high school, and so now I can't have just a regular Facebook page, I have the fan page because we'll be all friends after this company. And so a fan page, and this guy was like, wrote me from my past, and here's what he says. Whoa, what happened to you? Looks like you got popular. You're always the quiet kid. I remember you just sat in the corner of Mr. Main's class all by yourself. Lord. And that was it. That was like, how do you respond to that? Thanks? And it's so rad to see that God took even that thing of me being so shy and sitting in the corner and began to give me confidence in Him. Not myself, but in His strength and His power and His Spirit that lives in me. And so who knows what God might do in your life. So whatever your story is, God wants to speak of His love and His forgiveness and grace. And your story is unique. And if you don't tell your story, the world misses out on the unique flavor that you have to add. Because your story is a mighty weapon in the hand of God.